There was a time when one American company controlled nearly half of all televisions sold in the United States. This company had radios in millions of homes across America. Its stock price was climbing higher and higher. Its name stood for new ideas and progress. Then something shocking happened. Almost overnight, the company fell apart. Today, the factories where they built their products sit empty and quiet. Rust covers the machines. Nobody works there anymore. So how did a company that was worth hundreds of millions of dollars lose everything? Was it just bad luck? Or was it a series of money decisions that slowly destroyed the company? This is the story of Zenith Radio Corporation. This is a story about business, about money, about timing, and about how even the strongest companies can disappear if they do not adapt. Zenith Radio Corporation started in 1918. At the beginning, the company built radios. These radios were expensive and special. Only rich families could afford them. The radios worked beautifully. They brought music and news into homes across America. People were amazed by this new invention. They would gather around their Zenith radios to listen to games and concerts. The brand became famous for quality and innovation. By the 1950s, Zenith was not just surviving. It was winning against all the other companies. Zenith helped create color television. Zenith invented the remote control for televisions. People trusted the Zenith brand more than any other brand. At this time, Zenith employed tens of thousands of workers. These workers built products in huge factories in Chicago. The factories were massive. They covered entire city blocks. Thousands of workers went to these factories every single day to build televisions. The money the company made kept going up year after year. Investors wanted to buy Zenith stock. Everyone believed Zenith would grow forever. Zenith became a symbol of American power and strength. People around the world knew the Zenith name. It meant quality. It meant American engineering. It meant you could trust the product you were buying. But there was a hidden problem growing inside this company. The way Zenith did business was becoming outdated. Nobody could see it yet, but costs were growing faster than money coming in. The company was spending more money to make each television, but they could not raise the prices because customers would not pay more. This was the beginning of a problem that would destroy the company. By the 1970s, something dangerous was happening to Zenith. Companies from Japan started making televisions. These Japanese companies could make televisions for much less money. They could make televisions faster than Zenith. They could make televisions that worked better. Companies like Sony and Panasonic figured out how to be more efficient. They built factories with new machines. They trained workers to do jobs very quickly. They studied every step of making a television and found ways to waste less. Zenith refused to change. The company leaders believed that American manufacturing was the best. They believed that customers would always buy American products. They believed in loyalty to their workers and their country. So instead of moving work to other countries, Zenith wanted to keep making televisions in the United States. This decision had a big financial problem. Zenith had to pay American workers high salaries. The factories in America were expensive to run. You had to heat them in winter and cool them in summer. You had to maintain all the machines. You had to pay for electricity and water. The money Zenith made on each television got smaller and smaller. Think of a lemonade stand. You make lemonade and sell it for $3 a cup. Your competitor sells lemonade for $1.50 a cup. Why? Because their lemons cost less money. They have better equipment. They have cheaper workers. You have two choices. You can lower your prices to $1.50 and hope you sell more cups. Or you can keep your price at $3 and lose all your customers to the other stand. Zenith loved America and American workers. So Zenith stayed in America. This was admirable and good. But it was financially impossible. You cannot run a business on admiration. You cannot pay workers with loyalty. You need money. The company started owing more and more money. Banks were worried about lending more money to Zenith. Wall Street investors started to worry about their investment. The stock price started falling. In the 1980s, Zenith made a bold decision. They did not move all their work to other countries. Instead, they spent a huge amount of money on new technology. They bet everything on high-definition television. The leaders thought that if they could make the best high-definition televisions in the world, customers would pay more money for them. They would pay more because the picture quality would be so much better. At that time, most people did not want high-definition television. Regular television was good enough for them. But Zenith was betting that this would change. They were betting millions of dollars on a future that might never come. The costs of research and development exploded. The company spent billions of dollars on engineers and scientists. They spent money on building new laboratories. They spent money on testing equipment. The money the company had in the bank got smaller. More competitors started attacking Zenith. Japanese companies were making good televisions for cheap prices. South Korean companies were doing the same thing. European companies were competing too. Zenith was competing on two different fronts. On one front, they were trying to compete on price and efficiency with Japanese and Korean companies. On the other front, they were trying to develop high-definition television technology. The company was not just competing anymore. It was fighting for survival. All the while, money was pouring out. The debt was growing. There was a twist to this story. The technology Zenith invested in did become the world standard. But it took too long. By the time the market wanted high-definition television, Zenith was already dying. The company did not have enough money to survive until the market was ready. So Zenith was right about the technology. But they were right too early. And in business, being right too early is almost the same as being wrong. If you are right too early, you run out of money before the market catches up to your ideas. By the 1990s, the numbers told the real story. Zenith was losing huge amounts of money every year. The losses got bigger and bigger. Investors started selling their Zenith stock. The stock price fell and fell. Factories started closing one by one. Thousands of workers lost their jobs. These were not just numbers on a piece of paper. These were real people. They had families. They had mortgages. They had dreams. In 1999, the company was bought by LG Electronics from South Korea. An American company was now owned by a foreign company. The big factory in Chicago that once made thousands of televisions every day went silent. The machines stopped. The workers went home. Nobody returned to work the next day. For people who owned Zenith stock, it was a painful lesson. They invested money hoping to make more money. Instead, they lost their investment. For workers, it was worse. They could not pay their house payments. They had to sell their homes. Towns and cities lost jobs and money. The local economy in Chicago suffered. Many small businesses that sold things to Zenith workers had to close. Restaurants lost customers. Stores lost customers. Landlords lost renters. Local governments lost tax money. Everything connected to Zenith was affected. For Wall Street, it proved something important. You cannot let loyalty to workers or the country override the math of money. If you cannot make money, you will fail. That is the hard truth. Money is what keeps a business alive. Without money, even the best product cannot survive. Without money, even the most loyal workers cannot save the company. Zenith is not alone. Many companies have faced the same problem. The costs go up. Competitors from other countries make things cheaper. The company makes a big bet on the future that does not pay off. Look at Kodak. Kodak invented the digital camera. But Kodak did not believe in digital cameras because they made money from film. So competitors like Sony took over the digital camera market. Look at Blockbuster. Blockbuster did not believe that people would want to rent movies by mail. So Netflix took over the movie rental business. Look at Nokia. Nokia made the best mobile phones. But Nokia did not believe that touchscreen phones would be popular. So Apple and Samsung took over. Today, many technology companies have the same problem. Tech companies are spending billions of dollars on artificial intelligence. They are spending billions on new hardware. They are spending billions on things that might fail. Nobody knows if these bets will make money. There is only so much money in the world. If you borrow too much money, you will fail. If you bet big on something that does not happen, you will fail. Being early with a new idea can destroy you just like being late can destroy you. The real lesson is this. New ideas must match the money the company actually has. Company loyalty to workers must match the profit the company makes. A company cannot be big unless it is also efficient. The empty factory is just a building, but it is also a warning. The same money problems that destroyed Zenith still exist today. Another big company could be heading toward the same failure right now. We just cannot see it yet. It could be a tech company. It could be a car company. It could be a company that makes anything. The pattern is always the same. Costs go up. Competition gets harder. Money gets tighter. And finally, the company runs out of time and money. Zenith became powerful because of new ideas. The founders of Zenith had great ideas. They believed in making quality products. They believed in innovation. They invested in research. They created things that nobody had ever created before. But Zenith failed because of money problems, bad timing, and competition from other countries. The company could not manage its costs. The company waited too long to adapt. The company did not move fast enough. The company loved its workers and its country more than it loved survival. These are all good things in life. But in business, they can kill you. Here is the question for you. If you were the chief executive officer of a company, what would you do? Would you protect American jobs and keep factories in America? Would you keep workers who have been loyal to the company for 30 years? Would you make your own products even though it costs more? Or would you protect the money the company makes and move work to other countries? Would you hire cheaper workers? Would you buy products from suppliers who charge less? This is the real question. This is what killed Zenith. Some people say Zenith should have protected American workers. Some people say Zenith should have moved work overseas. But in the end, nobody was happy. The workers lost their jobs anyway. The company disappeared anyway. The shareholders lost their money anyway. So maybe the lesson is this. You have to make decisions early. You have to adapt before it is too late. You have to balance loyalty with survival. You have to think about the future before the future arrives. The story of Zenith teaches us something very important about the world. Business is not kind. Business is not fair. Business is not about feelings or loyalty or doing the right thing. Business is about money. It is about survival. It is about who can produce the best product for the lowest price. Zenith had a choice. They could have changed the company years earlier. They could have moved work to other countries when it still mattered. They could have cut costs in different ways. But they chose loyalty. They chose to keep their workers. They chose to make things in America. This was a beautiful choice. But it was also a choice that led to failure. The workers lost their jobs anyway. So protecting them did not work. The company tried to compete by making better products. But better products were not enough. They had to be cheaper too. And Zenith could never be cheaper. Not with American wages. Not with American factories. Not with American energy costs. This is the reality of global business. You must compete on price. You must compete on quality. You must compete on innovation. You must compete on everything. If you fail in any one area, you can fail completely. Think about it and decide what you would do. If you like stories about the money behind history, watch more documentaries like this one. These stories teach us how the world really works. These stories show us that big companies are not protected from failure. These stories remind us that money matters. Timing matters. Decisions matter. And sometimes even the strongest companies fall.